Hello, it's Vanessa Valjean and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to speak about the wounded feminine. We are going to speak about how wounded feminine energy affects the way we perceive the world, the way that we perceive ourselves, the way we show up, the ways that we don't show up. And I feel as though if you're someone who is trying to heal and grow, it's important that we acknowledge this silent but insidious energy. So, what is the wounded feminine? It is the part within ourselves that has gone out of its way to love, to nurture, to support, to hold, to hear out, to see, and it has received the opposite back. It has been taken advantage of, it has been vulnerable before, only to be treated with disrespect, only to be violated, only to be abused. The wounded feminine energy is how someone who has been hurt over and over and over, even though they were willing to love, willing to commit, willing to devote time and effort to another person, is when they are absolutely destroyed and distraught and they're tired. If you can relate to those words, you're probably operating from a place of wounded feminine energy. How does it show up? It shows up quite often in like an air of anger, bitterness, resentment that doesn't necessarily have to be voiced. It could be anger when you feel like someone doesn't care about you, like you are willing to show up for them and plan their birthday and pick up the call when they need you, or give them the money if they're struggling, but you don't get that reciprocated. You know? It can show up in ways that you no longer look after yourself. You can go days without showering or bathing. You can look back to the girl who always made an effort to dress up, to wear makeup, to keep on top of the chores, but now it's like you really struggle. It could be that you were the bubbly person who really loved parties, loved conversations, loved connecting with others, loved helping people, but now you are cynical. You are cynical about everything. You read into everything. You feel as though you are misunderstood and you are mistreated and you are abused, and there's no point of opening up yourself again. But even then, though you have these feelings, you still continue to move forward with that hope of being loved. That is what it's like to be operating in your wounded feminine energy. This topic is so close to home because I feel like the past couple of years have been very much so me leading from a place of being wounded. And it's only when I started to do shadow work, which is you could say, I want to say it's a treatment. It's a call to action when it comes to looking at the deepest, darkest parts within yourself, and it looks at uncovering them. It looks at looking at the shadow. What is the shadow? The shadow is the part of yourself that contains the deepest, darkest memories, desires. It's everything that's been repressed. If it were to come out, you would be cancelled. You would not be able to live amicably with those around you because it's so chaotic. It's like chaos and full pelt, our shadow, and we all have one. And the reason why we're not all roaming around blaring our shadows is because there are consequences. There is the law, there is policy, there's public shame, and all of those other agents of, let's say, the law or socialization in play. And it's really important to note that you may see the shadow coming up when you drink because all of the unconscious comes to the top. And also notably that the shadow will try and communicate to you in your sleep, in your dreams, that you need to flipping look at what it's trying to tell you because it's bursting to come out, especially if you feel vulnerable, because the shadow and the dark feminine is like really wanting you to like listen to it and seek out its advice. And if you keep on pressing it in, it will come out. It will come out. And this happened to me recently. I had shoved all my resentment towards the way I've been treated, the way I've been abused, the way that I've been taken for granted, all the way to the bottom for years of my life. And when I started doing shadow work, when I started looking at my dreams, writing them down, trying to make sense of what they're communicating to me, looking at archetypes, looking at symbols, looking at patterns, looking at figures, looking at people, when I started writing it down, my shadow came full pelt into the world. And I was like, who is this? Who is this? Who is this? Who is this dark feminine? Who is she? She is the opposite of me. What the heck? And the truth of the matter was that I was repressing these feelings, these emotions of feeling abandoned, rejected, wounded and abused down, so much so when it came to the last straw, when I started to look at my pain and I started to analyze the way that my emotions were showing up in my dreams, and perhaps when I got drunk, it all started to slowly make sense. The wounded feminine energy shows up in insidious ways. It could be the reason why we can't maintain friendships, or we can't even seek them out in the first place, because our body, our minds remember the hurt. But we attract that same energy as long as we do not look and learn the lessons of the dark feminine and of our shadows. So we need to look into ourselves. We need to see what those darker, repressed, taboo sides of ourselves are trying to teach us. For me, for example, it's trying to teach me that I ought to not set a precedent of disrespect when it comes to my relationships. I feel as though I'm someone who gives people chances over and over, and I let their shit slide. But it only leaves me more and more wounded. I've had to learn to be more assertive. I've had to learn to say no. And I've had to learn to remove myself from certain places where it's inevitable that I'll become more wounded. I've had to change expectations. I've had to look more within myself, because I understand that a lot of the feelings that I contain towards others and towards the world is because I haven't dealt within. I haven't looked within and dealt with the wounded parts of myself. And as you look at the wounded parts, you realize how much you project onto others, how much you project onto the world, and vice versa. And you just realize that it's not your personality, that you don't have to live and be the landlord of wounded feminine energy. I encourage you, if you're trying to love again, if your goal is growth, if you've got so much red tape and so many blockages and things aren't going well, to look into that. By the way, you don't have to be a woman to have wounded feminine energy. According to Jung, we both have feminine and masculine parts. We need the both. I'm sure that's a whole other video. I'm still a rookie when it comes to Jung, but I just wanted to share, as I do it and as I have done a little bit, the importance of addressing the wounded feminine, because shadow work is potent and it will change your life, because you're able to look at the parts that are leading your behaviors and your thoughts and your relationships and actually deal with them, actually incorporate them for the better. If you like this, please share this with someone. Please grab your journal, pay attention to your dreams. You'll be surprised. Thank you for watching.